What is up? Coach Emma here, and welcome back to the Fit Habit Life podcast, where we cut through the noise, talk real health and fitness, sustainable fat loss, and habits that actually work. So today I have a super special guest, my friend Coach Meryl, and she is the head coach and owner of Wicked Iron Strength. And we met at the Real Coaches Summit in April. We got in and out together. It was great. We hung out. She's super awesome, super great coach. So I'm really excited to have her on here today to tell her story.
Thanks. I'm excited to be here. You just pumped my tires so much. That made me feel so good. Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And, like you said, we met in April. We had a really great time. We had really great conversations. And so excited to chat more today.
Same here. Well, thank you for being on the podcast. So I'm going to give you the floor to kind of introduce yourself and how you became a coach.
Okay. This is always such a great question, and I can always go down the rabbit hole with it. So it's like, where do you want me to start? When I was born or no? I probably like a lot of other coaches you've had on the podcast have a very personal journey that correlates with me becoming a coach. I can honestly say, in retrospect, and I will say that a lot of things I talk about now is because I've gone through them. There were a lot of things in my journey that I had no idea was happening, especially from a psychological standpoint, while it was in them. I work I work with people with strength, fitness, nutrition, behavior change. I work a lot with mindset and, psychology, because it's such an important piece. I have found that was personally for me the big puzzle piece that was missing. And when I brought that into play, everything kind of started to fit together. I want to say beautifully, although it was definitely felt very messy and continues to feel messy. But you can see the direction as that piece comes into play. So I, in retrospect, can think back on my journey and point out all of the disorder that I had in my relationship with food, with my body, with fitness, even eventually. It was very chaotic. I was always searching to feel more confident, to feel more comfortable in my body. I grew up in the 90s, 2000s, so it was like this constant messaging of being small, and that was what you needed to do in order to fit in. I am a recovering people pleaser as well. So that's something that I saw very much in my journey of I want to fit in. I want people to like me. And so I need to look a certain way, act a certain way. And I got very lost in that as I was using, I use the term nutrition loosely because it was a lot of restriction and then a lot of overeating as well. Kind of seeking control, but not feeling in control at all. So that was a lot of disordered eating behaviors, even from a young standpoint. And I was always an athlete throughout my whole entire life. I did not lift weights. That was not really a thing, at least where I was from, for women in that time. I started lifting weights where I got into CrossFit when it was kind of in the beginning. You go down a dark alley into a garage, wonder if you're going to lose your life. And then there's all these people doing crazy shit in there. So, so I started CrossFit when it was kind of in the beginning stages, and definitely drank the Kool-Aid for a while there. It was great for me from a confidence standpoint, where I very much learned the power of consistency and showing up, and how lifting weights was something that just helped me feel very empowered. And then that also became another aspect of disorder for me for a while too. It was like, oh, this is something that I can just hold on to with deep control. And that became something that I always was like, I'm not doing enough. I need to do more. Recognizing then, like with my nutrition, where I went through paleo, I went through a dieting template, macro-based type of thing and I was like, oh, this is all working and changing my body. So let me just push more and more and more into it, not knowing the power of maintenance or how to use this in life. Wanted my body to look a certain way. Like I wanted to be lean and shredded and muscular, but didn't have any muscle on my body and just kept dieting. So, that's kind of where I stem from. And then moving through, again, like very much working with my mindset and how I actually thought about food, how I thought about exercise, how I thought about my relationship with myself, where I was holding myself back in all or nothing thinking or fixed mentality, scarcity, all of these aspects, and working into a place where I am now and actually shifting my coaching, because I was a coach through part of that as well, which always makes me cringe a little bit when I look back.
Well, I feel like that's like part of being a coach is most coaches have some issue that they're also working through. And so as you grow as a coach, I feel like it's normal to like look back from where you started and be like, oh man, like what was I doing? That means you've grown though, so it's good.
Absolutely. That's why I always say is like, it doesn't feel good to look back and cringe. However, the fact that you're doing it means that you're in a different place now. And that's a positive thing. So it always is for me that I think about the shitty advice that I was giving to people and thinking that I was helping people when I probably wasn't in certain ways. So that's a thing that always eats me up inside and kind of drives me in my coaching now, where I take very, very seriously how I talk about things with people, how it's not my way that I want people to do things. It's their life. I'm helping them figure out how to do things in ways that work for them. I'm pushing against maybe preconceived notions or beliefs that they have that I see disorder in or self-sabotage in or things like that. So those things, may not feel great, however, are very positively influential in where I'm at now.
And I think like going back to at the beginning, you said like in hindsight, you now realize a lot of these behaviors were disordered.
Mm-hmm.
But that's most people. Like when I was in my disordered habits with eating and stuff, I thought it was super healthy. Like I was only eating whole foods and you couldn't get me to eat anything fried or with added sugar, even if my grandma made it. Like now I look back and I'm like, that's absurd. But in the time, I feel like it's really common for people to be stuck in their thoughts. Like if you don't have someone pushing back against your belief system or you're not actively trying to, I don't know, get some feedback from your beliefs or habits or whatever, you're going to think that everything you're doing is the right thing.
Absolutely. Like you only know what you know. And, it depends on who you're around too, right? If you're around people telling you certain things, if you're around people who are constantly complimenting you on your weight loss or your motivation or discipline or all of these things, which, none of these are inherently bad. However, what's the intentionality behind it? What's going on under the surface? And when you get positive feedback into these things, especially with high achieving humans, you're like, yes, I'm doing more of that. And I think inevitably, at least for me, ran me into a wall.
Yeah, same here. I'm like kind of high achiever, type A-esque. Very much so.
I was like, yes, okay. I'm
Yeah.
not type A, actually. I will say, like, I'm
Ooh.
more type B, I will say. Yeah. I think I have
Oh,
undiagnosed ADHD, but yeah. Definitely
okay.
a high
Yeah.
achiever for sure.
No, yeah, I'm very, very type A, high achiever. So like same here. I was getting compliments. Oh wow, like you're so skinny or whatever. And it's like, oh, you're so hardworking, doing like 2 a days every day, sometimes 3 a days. And you think, oh, cool, like this is healthy. And then you start to see negative repercussions, like, I don't know, probably you probably had like low energy. um, I was constantly tired, moody, grumpy, you know. I lost my menstrual cycle,
Yep.
so
I did it as well. Those are all things. And in that time, because I thought what I was doing was super healthy, I'm like, why is this happening? I don't understand. I'm doing everything right. So, and then again, like in retrospect, you're like, yeah, duh, you know? And not one doctor, I will say, like, not one doctor even asked me in detail about these things. So that was another thing. And not one other person in my life was like, hey, maybe you're going a little bit too hard. You know, maybe these are things you could reconsider. And to be fair, I don't know if I would have listened to them at that time. But yeah, I lost my period. I was like, I don't know why this is happening. I'm doing all the right things. I had low energy. I had no sex drive. I was moody AF. I was, like I didn't actually feel good.
yeah. Same way. Like I was the same way, but I was like, but I look good, or I look smaller. I like the scale is the slowest it's ever been, right? And so there's like, I think people don't know what they actually should feel or what it should look like or what it should. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think that's the big thing too, is that again, you only know what you know, and on the other side of it is I didn't know what these things actually felt like, right? Like, what does confidence actually feel like in other ways than what I was comfortable with at that time, which was very disordered? What does freedom feel like? Like, how do I know that I want to seek freedom if I don't even know what that looks like? And I'm unwilling to push into areas that I feel uncomfortable with, right? Like there's this huge element of discomfort and uncertainty and fear. And that's what I see holding people back so often. They stay in the familiar, they stay in, even though it's actually not comfortable, it's comfortable because you can predict it. So that's like what I work on with people all the time. And what I had discovered myself is, all right, like if I can tolerate discomfort that feels a little bit different, unknown, uncertain, but it actually gets me into feeling relief, less stress, like even these type of things, like, oh, weird. Like I can breathe. Oh, weird. I actually have a little bit more energy. Even these small little inkling of things, then those compound. You get more comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I have some clients right now. We're literally just working on their schedule because they're so overwhelmed. They feel like they don't have enough time to do anything. And then they realize, oh, dang, I did this thing. Let's do the next thing, you know? And it builds confidence in themselves because I think a lot of people probably, it seems like we coach kind of similar people that have done the all or nothing sort of thing, like the fad diets and the go hard or go home kind of thing. So
Yep.
they probably failed a lot. Um, and they don't trust themselves to like follow through or to complete what they do. And so starting like really small changes, like as I said, like adding 10 minutes in your calendar to fill out your forms or something like that. It's like it seems ridiculous, but when you do it and you follow through, it's like, oh, I can do things, you know?
Yes, so spot on is that the small things, which nobody ever wants to do. I get so much pushback in the beginning from people. It's like, well, that's not enough. What's that going to do? You know, you're used to taking on these really big things. However, how has that helped you before? And what do you have to lose? You know, like what's the downside of doing something small? Usually it's some weird messed up belief that means that you're incompetent, incapable, whatever. And that's not helpful. Again, what's the alternative? You're going to keep doing what you've been doing, not get anywhere. So I totally agree that self-trust is such a big thing that people don't have. So when you can start small and actually be able to follow through with those things and learn along the way, there's always things you learn that you didn't know you were going to.
Yes.
Then it gives you this, it lowers the barrier of entry, right? It helps you get the ball rolling.
Yep. And it's, like you said, like it seems ridiculous, like 10 minutes to your schedule. But then, like we talked about, it's like those things get you going and you're like, oh, let's try something else. Or now I have the time to try something else because I put in 10 minutes into my schedule or whatever. Mm-hmm. Wow. So how did you realize what you were doing wasn't working for you, and how did you make change?
In my own journey?
Yes.
Yeah. So I had been coaching. I've been coaching for 12 or 13 years. I don't even know at this point. That's awesome. So I would say that probably about 7 or 8 years ago is when I had this big flip. But previous to that, I was a coach and I was in this place where, well, I don't need a coach because I am a coach. And if I need a coach, then that means I don't know what I'm doing, which is absurd. Absolutely absurd. However, that's where my mind was at.
I was in the same place. I was in the same spot. I felt like if I had a coach, I would be a fraud. So right. I understand. But now I like so much better having one.
Right. Exactly. You get it. So I had kind of dipped my toe in the water, so to speak, with getting help by purchasing templatized stuff. So templatized things with my nutrition, templatized programming for my strength. And that did help me in not having to, I wasn't so overloaded mentally with things. However, that only works until it doesn't work anymore because you don't have an actual human being seeing what's truly going on and pushing against. Again, I was in a very disordered place and I was still I had templatized programming, but I was skipping shit I didn't want to do or things that felt hard. I was in a fat loss phase for a way too long because I, quote unquote, wasn't where I wanted to be yet. So that was kind of like a toe in the water. And then there was a really big shift that we had just kind of environmentally for us where we moved. My husband's in the Air Force. So we had a really big move where we moved to Hungary from New Mexico.
Wow.
And that kind of rocked my world. And that was something that it was really freaking hard. However, it was very helpful because it put me into an extremely uncomfortable position. And I had to figure out a lot of things, all of the things for myself without going into all the detail. All of the things in my life were different. Even from a nutritional standpoint where I didn't know what meat was what when I went to the grocery store because everything was in Hungarian, nobody spoke English. So it was very different. Yeah, very different. So learning through some experience there where I really didn't know what I was doing in the time, but just gave myself time to kind of like relax and experiment and get curious and learn through things. And through that, I actually helped my body a lot. Like I had some gut health stuff. I had my cycle was so messed up, all of this stuff. And with allowing myself, like my nervous system downregulated and like all of these things happened. And then I was able to be in a place where I was like, okay, I keep going on trips and I keep coming back. And it's this weird cycle of like my eating patterns was really tipped me off. So I hired my own nutrition coach. And I also was going to like a women's group therapy at the same time too. So that was also helpful. So hiring my own coach at that point was like such a game changer for me. And then when we moved back to the States, I started working with someone to do my strength programming as well. I really wanted to start competing in powerlifting, and I knew I was more comfortable with asking for help at that point, and I knew I needed more direct help. So I asked for help. And then, like, honestly, from there, I've had so many coaches, so many people helping me along the way. And it's made me not only a better human, it's made me a better athlete, and it's made me a way better coach, spouse, daughter, friend, all of the things. So,
all the things, yeah.
All the things. Yeah.
That's awesome. That's crazy. You had to move to Hungary.
Yeah. It was a big change. So
yeah, because like I've never even heard Hungarian. Like I don't even know what I would do.
Well, Emma, I had to look on the map. My husband came home one day and he's like, "So what do you think?" Like it was a very there was only one spot in the whole military in the whole Air Force for his job position in this base. And so what do you think? I have this opportunity. And like, well, we've been here for forever and there's not a lot of opportunity in that area that we were in. You know, sure, let's do it. And I had to look up on a map. I'm like, where is Hungary? I don't even know.
Oh man, that's crazy. So how were you still running your business like while you were there or what?
So I was all in person before that. I had started, so I moved out to New Mexico to be with he was my boyfriend at that point, and so I moved out there to be with him. And I was like, what am I going to do? Because my degree was in sport management. I had worked in professional sports before that. And I'm in the middle of nowhere, New Mexico. Like, what am I going to do? So that was how I got into coaching from the beginning. I was like, well, I'll be in the gym. This is where I'm comfortable. I've been doing CrossFit. And this is where I'm comfortable. So I'm just going to hang out in the gym. And then I was like, oh, I could do this as a job. So I had built I was independent contracting, so I didn't have Wicked Iron Strength at that point. And I was all in person. We moved overseas, and I'm like, what am I going to do? This was in 2018. So it was kind of before online coaching was big. Like, it was a thing, however, it was definitely not what it is now.
Yeah.
So some of my clients, I had asked them, like, hey, you want to try to go into an online space and see how that goes. It was very bare bones, like email and Google Sheets, and that's it. Maybe some FaceTiming. And so I did have a handful of clients online, and then we brought all of our gym equipment with us. So we had a garage. It's nice. The Air Force moves all the stuff. Our movers hated us every single time. They hate us, but so we had our own garage gym, and I trained a couple people out of my garage, which was really fun. And I got to work with different populations of people from different countries, which was really cool. And so I had a business on a small scale at that point. And then when I moved back to the States in 2021 was when I really dove into it.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
Okay. Cool. That's really cool. And that's awesome that you didn't have to move your gym equipment.
Oh my God, I cannot imagine. Yeah, moving is hard enough. And that's what I will say is the positive thing is that you have to set up all the stuff. People come pack your stuff for you and move it. So
That's really nice. Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
the nice part.
Yeah. So where are you guys now?
We live in Illinois, closer to St. Louis. So we're like right over the border from Missouri. There's an Air Force base here in Southwest Illinois. Yeah, Southwest Illinois.
Cool. Cool. And so are you doing in person and online too?
Mostly online. I have I would say I keep a small roster of in person. I love in person training. It's just, I try to make my online coaching as personable as possible. I want people to know that they're working with a human that cares about them, not a computer. And, online coaching is great because I kept some clients that I work with in Hungary. So I have a client that I work with who's from Norway and I get to work with her still and that's really freaking cool. And I just don't think that you can ever replace working with people in person.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. And I think that's cool that you do try to make it as in person like as you can. Because there's a lot of coaches that don't do that. And I'm like,
Yeah. And that's just one of my core values is connection. And I just really this sounds so cliche, but why I got into coaching is because I want to help people.
yeah,
And so if I'm not really doing that, I think about it as a relationship. Like when you enter into coaching with me, like we're in a relationship. This isn't just, like me telling you what to do and taking your money. And there are a lot of people that do it that way. There's a lot of people that have rosters of hundreds of people. And I just don't think I could ever do that and provide the level of support that I hold as a standard.
yeah, same here. And I think that relationship is really important because, like, if you have someone that you never talk to that gives you stuff, but you don't know why and they don't communicate it well, it's like you're not really going to trust them. So your compliance won't be as good anyway.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. I mean, I see that all the time with people and their adherence is if, that's something that I take seriously is, I know that I have to earn people's trust when I work with them. And that is going to be such a cornerstone in the progress that they make. And the other part of it is very much on the person, whenever you enter into doing this, you gotta engage in the process. You can't just go through the motions. And there may be some areas that people aren't willing to go into immediately, and that's okay. We can chip away at it. However, if you're just surface level answering questions, going through the motions in the gym, I'm not gonna say you're not gonna get anything out of it. This isn't all or nothing. However, really want that transformative thing that people talk about, you really got to dig deep.
Yeah. And you'll not be able to do it on your own if you don't do that.
Yes.
And so it's like pretty sure we're like very similar mentalities. So I'm like teach a man to fish kind of vibes and stuff. And so I'm like, if you're not asking questions, you're not engaging in the process, I'm going to reach out because you're not going to get what the point of this is. Like, yes, it's a service and I'm providing you a service, but if you're not engaging in the process, you're not going to get what you need out of it. So what's the point? Well, it's better than nothing, but
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, but I agree. It's like I don't want people to need me. I don't want people to rely on me to make progress. I want to help them gain the skills and tools so that, 5 years down the line, I can message them and say, "Hey, how are you doing?" And they're like, "Yes, I'm doing great. I'm still doing all the things." Like that's autonomy. And that's important. I think it's, I truly believe that's important. And the things that people want to feel, things that people want to achieve, uh, like, do you want to rely on someone else for that? Or do you want to be able to do that yourself?
Yeah, and some people don't want, like, are just want the workouts and the other thing. I have like some family members per se that need workouts, and so they work with me for that. And then they don't engage in the other stuff, but I still have it there and I still reach out to them. But
Yeah.
it's like, okay, I know what you want out of this, and it's frustrating for me because I want to help you with these other things that I know that you need my help with, but at least right now, your workouts are good. So,
Yeah. And I will say that, like I don't want people to need me as their coach forever. However, when it comes to workouts, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like if you plan on having a coach, like for the long run, if you plan on working out in a structured way, then I think having someone to program that stuff for you is actually a really positive thing because it allows you to just go and execute and not have to think about it and be able to do all the other things in your life to have more capacity to do the other things in your life. So I will say that as a caveat. And that being said, is like if you want to get better at your squat, if you want to see your body composition changed, like if you want these other things as part of it, then that takes a little bit of extra engagement
yes.
versus just doing the workout.
Yes. Yeah, I completely agree. And like most people don't know how to write an effective workout routine, so you
No,
know.
no. I mean, Emma, I do this for people all day long. Like, I don't want to do it for myself. I'll tell you that right now. Like,
Um,
I could, and there may be a time in my life when I do. However, having my own coach to think about that for me and really be like, no, you're not doing great in these areas, and we want to improve in these areas. This is what we're going to work on. And like, I don't have to think about that. I can put my time and effort and energy into just doing it. Holy crap. Game
it's
changer.
it's so nice because that was like the biggest thing for me with the coaching. I was like, oh, I don't have to worry about these things anymore. I don't have to worry about my macros. I don't have to worry about my workouts. Because like for the most part, I've worked through most of my disordered behaviors and relationship to food and exercise and those sort of things. But like having somebody else just tell me what to do, so nice with the other
Yeah, or
one.
just even like reassurance sometimes is nice, right? Where, I think especially people that have a history of some type of disorder, because those thoughts never completely go away. That's an unrealistic expectation. And that's why I tell people all the time, it's like these thoughts are going to come up. They don't just poof go away. You get further away from them and you're able to critically think a little bit more around them. However, if like I work with my coach and I'm like, hey, I am doing great. I think that it would be good to like keep my macros the same this week. We're seeing progress. I'm feeling good, all this stuff. And she can be like, yeah, I think you're right. Okay, great. That is me having autonomy and also reassurance where I'm not overthinking it afterwards, where I'm like, wait, should it have been different? Or.
Yes, yes, yep. It is really nice. And like you said, just having that other person that you can, bug about things. And even like as a coach, sometimes I ask my coach advice for some of my clients and stuff if I'm like stumped or I'm like, hey, like, because getting another party perspective on stuff like that can be really helpful.
Yeah, because there's so much stuff. I think especially as there's more information that comes out. There's more like, just because you have tools, sometimes it becomes harder to be like, well, what tool do I use? So collaboration with other people who are skilled and knowledgeable is always helpful.
Yes. Yes. Um, so pivoting to like how you help clients like work through kind of the all or nothing mindset and kind of get out of your own way. What does your process look like to help them with that?
Good question. I take a very individualized approach with people. So I won't say like I have this coined system that I use. However, I would say that generally I start with just asking some typical questions. What does your life look like? What are some roadblocks that you've come across before, things that you continue to face? What are some patterns that have repeated? I generally look for language that people use. That's such a big tip off to where people would benefit from some shifts. And then we start to attack, so to speak, those type of areas again in really small ways, because this is hard for people. It's scary, it's uncomfortable, it's, like all of these things. And there's, from an internal level, your system, when you're in that area, is like, no, don't do that, right? This is when people go into like fight or flight mode. So working to, in very small ways, kind of question what you know and push into new areas, and then doing reflection. So it's kind of a constant with that, like, hey, we're going to work on adding protein to each meal, like on a very basic level, or adding carbohydrates into each meal intentionally, or adding in even like a treat, quote unquote treat, every day in a small way, or a couple times a week in a small way. And sitting with feelings, that's a big thing that goes into the process. Sitting with feelings, reflection, learning, pushing forward.
That's awesome.
In a nutshell.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think even like some clients, like with the fasting thing, that's like a big one. That's like a big hurdle, I think, a lot of the time. And it's like, even if it's just one day, like pushing your eating window like an hour or two like ahead of time, and getting them to realize, like, yes, it's uncomfortable. You probably don't like what we're doing, but then seeing the data and seeing that nothing changed, they didn't gain 10 pounds overnight or whatever, it can be really beneficial.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that even just playing things out where you speak things out loud and they sound absurd and it makes more sense, right? When they're in your mind, it makes sense and it seems logical and reasonable, and then you speak them out loud and it's like, oh yeah, duh. So even playing out with people, it's like, okay, so if you plan to eat one cookie and you ate three, then if you don't track the rest of the day, or you press the fuck it button the rest of the day, then what happens? And like, we play out the scenario, the pattern that actually has repeated itself, and then it's like, oh well, yeah, okay, so all right, how can we do this a little bit differently? What do you think would happen if you ate the three cookies? You go, all right, didn't necessarily want to do that, however, it happens, I'm accepting it. How can I move forward in supporting myself in my next step? And then quite literally just like rewiring the way that people work.
Yeah, it's that sounds very similar to Jeb's like presentation. And I've started to implement that with some of my clients, because I think, like, obviously, as I look at it, I'm like, of course that's not going to happen. Don't worry about it. Like, just go back to the normal stuff. But then talking through it, or identifying, like, why do you you know, just say screw it when you have the 3 cookies, or what caused you to eat the 3 cookies when you said you'd only have 1 cookie, and kind of pinpointing like stress is a big one for a lot of people. Um, I don't know, like, or the binge and restrict. You said you struggled with that as well, so you probably help quite a few people through that sort of mindset. Um,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah. The stress, the emotions, like those are the big things that, I mean, they're big. Like feeling feelings is is
terrible.
such a like such a what's the right word I want to use? My brain just farted. Like propeller of behavior. Your emotions, your feelings, especially when people are not necessarily emotionally intelligent or don't know how to actually sit and feel the feeling, they're going into avoidance, they're going into numbing, they're going into some type of coping thing where, again, when you play it out and you talk it out loud, it starts to actually, like, you realize how ridiculous it is. And the other thing, a lot of coaches will be like, just go back to your normal. But a lot of people, their normal is being stuck in that cycle, in that pattern. So they don't know what a normal is. And I think a lot of people forget that or maybe are not aware of it. So we really have to be like, well, what is a new normal for you? What's your new thing that you're going to do to break this pattern?
Yes, yeah. And like you were saying, like most people, well, me personally, I'll just say personally, I was not taught how to handle emotions, and a lot of people aren't. So we find things that give us a sense of relief, whether it be healthy or not, to help handle what we're feeling or numb what we're feeling or avoid what we're feeling. Um, and so like the first step is awareness, like you're saying, like trying to identify like this is not normal and it's okay that it's your normal, but we need to come up with a different way to handle this situation. So what are your like favorite coping mechanisms to help clients implement that kind of help with those situations?
I mean, honestly, even as simple as just breathing is such a big one because it's very available. Anybody can do it. It takes a matter of seconds. And when you can ground yourself and, quite literally stop the reactive behavior, the reactive action, and ground yourself in being able to put thoughtfulness and intention into your next step, that's so huge. Like taking a couple deep breaths, uh, going for a walk. Like that's one that I use very often, especially if I find myself going into this pattern. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna go for a walk because that allows me to get out of that environment, get into my body, get into my mind, and be able to redirect. And that's been helpful for a lot of my clients as well. Some of my clients will journal or just like, it doesn't have to be this. I think journaling kind of trips people up sometimes where,
Yes.
like it could literally just be opening a note on your phone and just writing down what's going on right now.
Yep. It doesn't have to be this like prompted fancy thing. You can
Right.
literally just write what is in your brain and get it out of there. And that
Yeah.
helps a lot.
Yeah. And you never have to read it again. I think that's a thing too. I just had a conversation with a client where she was like, I think I get critical because then I don't want to see that I made like spelling errors or grammatical errors or I don't want to read what I read. And she's like, maybe I'll just crumple it up and throw it away afterwards. I was like, yeah, you could totally do that. Like that's fine. So I like to keep my journaling because I like to go back and read it and like see where I was at and see how far I've come. However, if that's what's stopping you, yeah, crumple it up and throw it away. That's totally fine.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. Because I mean, nobody's going to read this. You're not like publishing it anywhere. Most people probably don't want to share it on social media or anything. So it's just personal. So you don't have to even ever look at it again. It just helps your brain kind of process what's going on and
Mhm.
get the thoughts out of there.
Yeah, and I think that like a lot of people avoid that. So, well, I don't want to go there, right? Like that's a scary place too. However, when you do, if you want to be confident in yourself, in your body, then if you want this intuition, then that takes knowing yourself. And if you can't do that, then how the heck is that going to happen?
Yeah, and that's the scary part, I think, for a lot of people, is to do that. Um, I still struggle with it. I like
Yeah.
to distract myself too, and I think it's pretty common. I mean, we and nowadays we have so many things to distract us.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um,
I have to put my phone into other rooms a lot of the time because it's just on autopilot, right? And that's what that autopilot, that's where people are on. And I think that's how sometimes people beat themselves up. They're like, I don't know why I keep doing this. It's because that's your normal, that's your familiar, you're on autopilot. So identifying a few things to do when you start to, like, you know what your patterns are. I know if I'm avoiding doing something I don't want to do, like my taxes or certain parts of work or whatever, like I'm going to go in the kitchen probably. And like, I know if I put my hand in the jar of chocolate chips, then I'm probably avoiding something. So it's like, you know what? I'm going to go for a walk. When I get back from the walk, I'm going to go do that thing that I'm avoiding. So, you know, expecting yourself just to change because you know you don't want to do something is not realistic.
yeah, yeah, and then that goes back to the like believing that you're gonna follow through with stuff. And so I think, like, again, because like you said, go on a walk, go, and when you get back, you go do your thing. I guess you've built that trust in yourself and belief in yourself and ability to follow through on things.
Mm-hmm.
But that took like a long time of being able to identify the triggers and other stuff, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Yes, that's. Thank you for saying that because I mean, I might have made it sound so simple and easy, and this is like years and years of practice. And that's again, like I know myself with that, right? Like I know what my patterns kind of are. I know what's not supportive, and I know what is supportive, and I know that that thing I'm avoiding, when I go and do it, it's going to be fine afterwards and I'll be fine once I just start. And I've built that trust to do it. So, yes, but that's like been a very messy process.
Yes, I'm still like, I think I'm more self-aware now in certain triggers that I have for certain behaviors that I don't like that I do.
Mhm.
But it's still like a process. It's hard sometimes, and like now I'm working through things. Like I said, I did not have a lot of emotional intelligence. It's basically either avoidance or like anger.
Mm.
So it's like working through that, and it's like I'll get angry, and I'm like, why did I get angry? And I'm like, oh, I know why I got angry. This was dumb. But the event happened, and so I'm still trying to like create those barriers or space to not react and to allow myself to behave like a normal human should.
Well, we don't need to shoot ourselves in it, but yeah, I mean that's like the reactivity. That was something that was such a big shift for me. And I will say that, like, I was a very reactive person. And a lot of that was because I would like push these emotions deep down inside and it'd be like explosions. And like, I'm experiencing something that nobody around me knows that I'm experiencing. And it would be always reactive. And the more that I've learned to actually like identify and feel feelings, the less I'm in that tumultuous, volatile place. And also when I know what reactive behavior looks like. So I can say like, okay, well that makes me really freaking mad. Let me just take a beat here and then I can go into it with curiosity. Like how can I respond here instead because that other person isn't me? Or like we're not having the same experience in life here. So it's like that made me really mad. Like okay, Meryl, this is your experience. And if you react, it's not going to be good. So how can you respond? It's okay.
And well, thankfully or not, usually it's only like a couple people in my life that trigger the specific anger. But
Is it your
thankfully,
family?
yeah, yeah.
I see.
So they're stuck with me either way.
Yeah.
But anyway, I'm a lot better. This weekend we had like a wedding thing, and I'm very type A. It was not planned like at all. And then I
Mhm.
was expected to do a whole bunch of things as a bridesmaid, like cart everybody around and all this stuff. And I was really good all weekend. You could like my husband actually said you did like a really good job of handling this situation. And I was frustrated and I had the right to be frustrated. And I just said I'm very frustrated right now. And I didn't do anything crazy. I was like this is good. We're like moving up.
Yeah. That's awesome. I can so very much relate to that, and that's like you're being frustrated is so valid there, right? Like that is frustrating. You feel frustrated. However, if you react, it's not going to lead to you being less frustrated. So it's, like, let me just like put this feeling to the side for a bit and it'll be over. It'll be good. I can have a better experience. Everybody else can have a better experience.
Yes, yeah,
Thank
and just
you.
thank you. And just saying that I was frustrated actually helped. Like,
Yeah.
which is kind of like crazy. Like this, and in the moment I wasn't thinking about it. I'm like, I don't want to, like, I want the wedding to be good. The guy getting married was like my brother. So I'm like, okay, I don't want to cause anything, but I am upset and somebody's asking me how I'm feeling. So I'm just going to say that I am frustrated. And it just worked out.
I love that. Yeah, because like otherwise, if you're like, yeah, I'm good, and it's like, no, and then there's like resent that's built and all this other shit, and it's, yeah, an emotional explosion.
Yes, yeah, and it's usually like okay, not trying to stereotype, but I've noticed women tend to hold things in more and get very resentful, but you never know because they never tell you anything.
Yeah.
And then it's like you I don't know, did something small and then it's like this big blow up thing. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, I don't understand. And then they list all the things that happened like years ago or whatever. And I was like, okay, why don't we just talk about it, when it happens or after? So anyway, thankful I don't do that. It's just like a something I'm stressed, reactive husband thing. Bah. So
Mhm.
anyway, um, yes, but speaking your emotions aloud, very helpful,
So
is the point
helpful.
of my uh, story.
Yes. Seriously. So simple. So helpful.
Yes, and on that note, what would you like to leave our audience with?
Oh God. Well, I hope that if you're listening, you got something out of this episode that you can go put into action in your life. That is my really big thing is, you can take in all of the information, all of the knowledge, all of the whatnot. However, if you don't put it into action and actually do it, then not much happens. So, what I like to say is cool shit happens on the other side of doing. So, please go do. And I would love to hear about it too.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Yeah, go take action, people. Because there's like, you can listen to all the health and fitness podcasts and have all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't actually do anything, nothing's going to happen. Nothing's going to change. So I love that. So, where can our listeners find you? And I will post everything in the show notes also.
Right. On Instagram at Meryl CBC, at Wicked Iron Strength, wickedironsтрength.com. And I have, so those are the main areas. And I have lots of cool shit coming out. So stay tuned.
Yeah, she may have a podcast, people.
Maybe. I'll have you on it.
Oh, that would be great. I would love to.
We'll send them out.
Awesome. Yeah, so if this resonated with you, number 1, take action. Number 2, tag us on social media and share it. Share it. There were so many gems in this episode that probably most people in your life could benefit from one of the things or laugh at one of the stories that we've told. So please share it, like, rate, subscribe, all the things. And I'll catch you on the next one.